Welcome back. All right, 12 games to review tonight. If you're looking for reviews of the matinee games, that video is already on the channel. So that being said, why waste time? Let's jump into it. The last games before the break, we begin with Toronto in against Columbus. Toronto needed a bounce-back game, and they got it. So it's Jones versus Tarasov. Things get pushy on a hold by Jones. Columbus presses 2 minutes in. Yurachek has a blast that's held. The shots are 6-4 Columbus at the 3.5-minute mark. Riley has a shot that's held as the Leafs press. Domi has a sharp angle shot that's saved, and then Matthews. It's a turnover, and the Leafs take advantage. Matthews from Marner and Nyes at 8:20. The fans then call when the referee doesn't. The teams exchange rushes. We get 2 minutes of 4-on-4. Leafs press with 7.5 minutes left. Columbus then gets some pressure with 5 minutes left. Corelli gets hurt, took a puck to the chest. It was a scary incident in the closing seconds of the second period, and they sent the players to the locker room rather than playing the last, I believe it was 17.8 seconds of the period. So yeah, for Corelli, and it was an instant where he'd already been hit in the head on the play, and then he took a puck right in the chest, and yeah, so one of those scary things, and hopefully Corelli's okay. So they finished that 18 seconds before going into the second period. 22 seconds into the second period, Danforth scores from Gaudreau and Fantilli to tie the game on a breakaway, but Toronto gets it back at 2:58. Tavares scores from Brody and Nylander. Kent Johnson nearly answers. We get a power play for Toronto. The referee is informed that he sucks. Matthews would score during that power play from Marner and Nylander at 8:21. We then get a power play for Columbus. That's killed off. 2 shots. Then there's a delayed game call. Gives Columbus a power play. That's killed off as well. After 2 periods of play, it's 3-1 Toronto. Third period, Columbus presses at 1.5 minutes. McMahon to Gregor gets blocked. We get a power play for Columbus. That was killed off. No shots on that power play. Columbus goes back to the power play, which leads to Nylander wiring one on a rush at 11:50 from Matthews and McCabe. That is a shorthanded goal. And then Domi was denied out of the box. So they do finish the kill. 4:33 left. The Leafs with a power play. There's a near miss for Marchenko shorthanded. They do kill that off, but they don't get any closer. Your final score is 4-1 for Toronto. The Leafs go to 17-8-6 on the season. For Columbus, they're 11-18-6 on the season themselves. Shots on net, 14 apiece in the first, 5 apiece in the second. 11-9 Toronto in the third. Final shots, 30-28 for the Leafs. Power plays, 1 for 2 for Toronto, 0 for 4 for Columbus. The hits, 9-6 for Toronto. Jones saved 27 out of 28. Pretty good night for Martin Jones. Tarasov saved 26 out of 30 at the other end. All right, next up. Boston and Minnesota. Boston continues to play mediocre hockey. This is something they've been doing for weeks. So it's Ullmark versus Fleury. Early jump for the Wild. Geeky's robbed on a break. We get a power play for Boston, and they score on it. 2:37 is Pasternak with his 20th. McAvoy and Marchand with the assists. We then had a fight between Lauko and Duhaime. Bruins draw another power play. That's killed off. The shots 6.5 minutes in are 3-1 for Boston. Duhaime is denied and close. Neither team was getting to the net at this point in the period. Bruins press with 6 minutes left. Pasternak has a chance that's picked off. The Wild press with 2 minutes left. With 14.2 seconds left, Minnesota gets a power play. So that rolls over into the second period. The Bruins finish the kill, but the Wild go back to the power play. And at 2:37, Eriksson Ek gets credited with a goal that Carlo put in. So that makes it a 1-1 tie. And then at 7:22, Kaprizov gives Minnesota a lead. Goligoski and Eriksson Ek with the assists on that. Halfway through the period, the shots are 13-2 in favor of Minnesota. Duhaime has a rush chance that's saved. The Wild press with 5.5 minutes left. Minnesota draws a power play. That's killed off, but it's 2-1 Minnesota after 2. Third period, power play for the Wild. And 3 seconds after it ends, Marcus Foligno scores from Maroon and Gaudreau at 3:10. So suddenly it's 3-1. Shots are 5-4 Minnesota at 7 minutes. The Wild go back to the power play. That's killed off. Geeky would get Boston a little closer. He scores from Heinen and Frederick at 13:53. Boston would pull the goalie with 2 minutes left. They do not tie the game. Your final score is 3-2 for Minnesota. They go to 15-13-4 with the win. Boston 19-7-6 with the loss. Shots on net, 6-5 Boston in the first, 19-6 Minnesota in the second, 11-9 Minnesota in the third. Final shots 35-21 for the Wild. Power plays, Boston 1 for 2, Minnesota 1 for 5. The hits 22-19 for Minnesota. Ullmark saves 32 out of 35. Fleury saved 19 out of 21. But yeah, so for Minnesota, they stay hot, and for Boston, they stay not. All right, Detroit in against the New Jersey Devils. Hutchinson versus Vanacek. I'm just going to say it. Hutchinson had a good game. He's capable of having good games. He's a good stopgap in net. Fans call one, the referee doesn't. He sure has a shot that's kicked aside, and then Kane buries one from the side of the net to brink it with a nice pass to set him up. Wallman with the other assist at 4:22. Devils look to answer. The Wings press at 6 minutes. We get a power play for Detroit. Perron's denied. It's cleared. It's killed off. And then Meyer buries a rebound to tie the game. He scores from McLeod and Mercer at 11:42. The Wings press in the final minute, but it's 1-1 after one. Second period, early edge for the Devils. We get a power play for New Jersey, or we would have, but it gets taken back. So that way, the fans are really unhappy. So the Devils do get a power play soon after that. That was killed off anyways. So there you go. Spoilers. Shots are 9-4 for the Devils at the half, but at 10:33. Detroit gets the goal for the lead. It's Gostisbehere from Sprong and Fisher. We then get a power play for the Devils. Myers denied. It's cleared out. They end up killing that off. And then Sherratt and Bratt kind of go at it. I have them against each other, but it's more of a roughing than fighting. Doesn't matter. Wings press with 4.5 minutes left. Kopp has a net drive that's blocked. It's 2-1 for Detroit after 2 periods, but we know Detroit has a hard time closing out games right now. So third period, Bratt has a net feed that's blocked. Jack Hughes misses one high, and then Meyer doesn't. He scores at 2:46 for his second of the game from Luke Hughes and Mercer. Wings press to respond. There's a power play for the Wings. That's killed off. Lazar's dinged on a shot block. He stayed in the game. And then Toffoli gives New Jersey the lead. He scores at 12:45 from Bratt and Hughes. It's a point shot he deflects in. We get a power play for Detroit. That's killed off. The goalie pull happens with about 2 minutes left, and Detroit's unable to generate the tying goal. So they drop to 16-14-4 with the 3-2 loss. New Jersey 17-13-2 with the win. Shots on net favored New Jersey the whole way through. 10-6 in the first, 13-9 in the second, and 13-9 in the third. Final shots 36-24 for New Jersey. Power plays, Detroit 0 for 3, New Jersey 0 for 4. The hits 13-4 for New Jersey. Hutchinson saved 33 out of 36. Vanacek saved 22 out of 24. So again, entertaining game, depending on which team you're rooting for in that one. All right, next up, Pittsburgh and Ottawa. So this was the game that there were so many goals. So for a while, I would say about 10 minutes tonight, all I was doing was trying to keep up with all the goals being scored when there were 9 games happening at the same time. It was insane. And this game was part of it. So Nedeljkovic versus Forsberg, a good early back and forth. The Senators press at 2 minutes. We get a power play for Pittsburgh. It becomes a 5-on-3 for 1 minute and 38 seconds because of a too many men call. Raquel has a blast that's blocked. Smith's denied and close. That power play is killed off. Then we get a power play for Ottawa. That's killed off as well. But then Chychrun buries a rebound to put Ottawa ahead 1-0. Giroux and Norris with the assists at 11:07. Penguins get a power play, and it scores because their power play has finally started to get goals. Eller scores this one. It's his first power play goal of the season from a sharp angle. Smith and Letang with the assists of 14:31. But Ottawa gets that back. Norris scores from Tkachuk and Brandstrom at 15:01. With 2 minutes left, the Sens get a power play that takes place until there's 23 seconds left. It becomes a 4-on-4. So we roll over to the second period where everything ends up being killed off. And then at 2 minutes and 10 seconds, Tkachuk scores from Giroux and Chychrun. It's a 3-1 lead. We get a power play for the Sens. That's killed off. And then at 4:59, Raquel finally gets his first goal of the year from Crosby and Smith. Interestingly enough, I did that video the other day on overachievers and underachievers. Almost everybody that somebody said, why isn't this guy on the underachieving list? Almost all of them scored tonight. So yeah, Raquel gets that one. We then get a power play for the Penguins. That's killed off. And then Brandstrom adds one for Ottawa from Tkachuk at 7 minutes and 30 seconds. The Sens get a power play. Stützle has a near miss that ends up being killed off. Sanderson has a rush chance that's saved. We get a power play for the Penguins. That's killed off. But it's 3-1 Ottawa after 2. But Ottawa, much like Detroit, has a hard time closing out games. So we get an early press by the Penguins, and at 1:51, O'Connor scores. He scores that one from Letang and Pettersson. The Penguins press 7 minutes in. Batherson has a rush chance. That's held. The Penguins press at 9.5 minutes. We get a power play for Pittsburgh. That's killed off. And Forsberg was heroic in that period up until 17:34. Letang ties it. Assist to Pettersson there. It's 4-4, and we're going to overtime. In the overtime at 1 minute and 10 seconds, Batherson with a nice pass over to Stützle. Stützle buries it. And Ottawa finally gets the win. They go to 12-17 with a 5-4 overtime win. For Pittsburgh, 15-13-4 with the overtime loss. Shots on net, 10-7 Ottawa in the first, 11-4 Ottawa in the second, and then 23-4 Pittsburgh in the third. Jacques Martin might have to work on that. And the only shot in the overtime was Ottawa's. That's all they needed. Final shots 34-26 for Pittsburgh. Power plays, the Penguins 1 for 7. Ottawa 0 for 4. The hits 13-12 for Pittsburgh. Nedeljkovic saves 21 out of 26. Forsberg saved 30 out of 34 at the other end. So, yeah, not too bad of a game. Again, depending on who you were rooting for in that one. All right, next up. Last one on this board is Tampa Bay against the Washington Capitals. And again, it's a Washington game, so at points, not a lot of shots and opportunities. First period, Vasilevsky versus Lindgren. The shots are 2-0 Tampa, 3 minutes in. Sandin has a net feed, that's picked off. Mott had a rush chance that was held. Tampa Bay presses. 3.5 minutes in, we get a power play for Tampa. Point has one that's fired wide from the slot, and that's killed off. So, the Tampa Bay Lightning do get the lead shortly thereafter. At 7:29, Glendening scores from Hedman. Capitals then look to answer. We get a power play for Washington. That's killed off. Jeannot fires one high from the slot with 3:13 left. Tampa Bay gets a power play. That was killed off as well. Caps press in the final minute, but it's 1-0 Tampa Bay after one. Second period. 2:01 in. Mantha tips one in, and this is after a goal by Jensen was called back, so they do get it. Mantha from Jensen and Protas, so that ties the game at 1. Caps press at 4 minutes. Tampa Bay then gets some pressure of their own 8.5 minutes in. Perbix has a blast that's kicked aside. The shots are 7-4 for the Capitals with 7.5 minutes left. Caps press with 6.5 minutes left. Lindgren wasn't giving up rebounds tonight. Again, Charlie Lindgren continues what's been a remarkable run for him. Malenstein's denied on a backhand. The Bolts press in the closing seconds. But yeah, it's 1-1 after 2. Third period. Early jump for Tampa. Caps had the only shot at 4.5 minutes. This period, there was not a lot going on. Pressed by the Caps at 6 minutes. The shots are 5-1 for the Capitals with 6.5 minutes left. Both teams had a shot after that in the last 6.5 minutes. So Paul couldn't bury one. It's cleared out. There were only 8 shots in total in that third period. We're going to overtime. In the overtime, there was almost as many shots as there were in the third period. Caps control early. Sorelli breaks up a 2-on-1. Bolts take over. Kucherov has a shot that deflects wide. Strome fires wide on a 2-on-1 opportunity. McMichael has a shot that's held. We end up going to the shootout. In the shootout, it's Victor Hedman that gets the winner. So Tampa Bay pulls out the win in the shootout. They go to 17-13-5 with the win. For the Capitals, 17-19-5 with the shootout loss. Shots on net, 13-11 for Washington in the first, 10-5 Washington in the second, 6-2 Washington in the third, 5-2 Washington in the overtime. Final shots 34-20 in favor of the Washington Capitals. Power plays 0 for 2 for Tampa, 0 for 1 for Washington. The hits 20-16 for Washington. Vasilevsky, he saved 33 out of 34. And for Lindgren, it was 19 saves on 20 shots at the other end. I didn't write them down, but math, because they only allowed 1 goal each. So there you go. We are now going to go to board number 2. All right, so the Islanders and the Carolina Hurricanes. This game was bonkers. I mentioned earlier that there was a lot of goals going on at one period of time, and this coincided with the second period of some of those games around there, and just, yeah, it was bonkers. Anyways, so Sorokin versus Kochetkov. The Canes press at 2 minutes. Svechnikov with a near miss. The Islanders clear. We get a power play for the Islanders. That's killed off. Shots are 3-2 for New York at 5.5 minutes. We get a power play for Carolina. Romanov gets shaken up on a shot block. He would stay. Well, he did come in. I know he came back at one point, so I don't know if he left for a while. But anyways, the power play's killed off. The Islanders clear. There were 2 shots on that power play. And then the Islanders, Sebastian Aho opens the scoring from Palmieri and Nelson at 11:19. He buries a rebound. The fans wanted a call on that one. They were not happy when that goal went in and it counted. But Teravainen answers a little over a minute later at 12:22. He tips one in. Jarvis and Orlov with the assists. And then at 14:43, Nelson restores the lead for the Islanders from Riley and Palmieri. So Palmieri with a couple of helpers in the first. And then at 18:25, it's Bo Horvat scoring from Barzal and Lee. So it's 3-1 for the Islanders. Pretty exciting first period. So I'm sure Lane Lambert told him, hey, we're the Islanders. What are you doing? Second period. Early power play for the Canes. It didn't take long. 59 seconds in. The Canes, Sebastian Aho scores from Bunting and Svechnikov. The Islanders press to respond. We get a power play for Carolina that lasts 3 seconds. Yep. So it becomes 4-on-4. Nate just breaks up an Islanders rush. The teams exchange rushes after that. Things get pushed in a hole by Sorokin. The shots are 7-2 for Carolina. 9.5 minutes in. Barzal fires one wide from the slot. The Canes press with 8.5 minutes left. But at 14:12, Riley scores from Barzal and Lee, and that restores the 2-goal lead for the Islanders. Canes look to respond, but it stays 4-2 after 2. Third period, early jump for the Canes, and they'd score. Slavin scores from Necas and Svechnikov at 1:56. It's a one-timer top shelf. Canes look to tie it, but at 3:44, Lee buries one 5-hole from the side of the net. Dobson and Horvat with the assists. Shots are 8-5 for the Canes at 7 minutes. Canes end up drawing themselves a power play. They score on that. It's Nason from Necas and Shea at 9:17. He buries that one on a good cycle. We get a power play for the Islanders. That's killed off. Necas ties it, but it was kicked in. So it was pretty obvious it was kicked in. The fans were not happy, but yeah. And the Canes just run out of time. Things get punchy at the horn, but the Islanders win a high-scoring game, 5-4. They go to 16-8-9 with the victory. The Canes drop to 17-13-4 with the loss. Shots on net, 15-12 Carolina in the first, 10-6 Carolina in the second, 15-10 Carolina in the third. They did outshoot them, 40-28. Power plays 0-3 for the Islanders, 2-4 for Carolina. Hits 16-12 for Carolina. Sorokin saved 36 out of 40. Kochetkov saved 23 out of 28 at the other end. All right, Sabres and Rangers. Luukkonen versus Shesterkin. Benson has a shot that's held. The Sabres press at 3.5 minutes. Sabres came in and played a pretty good road game tonight. Lindgren's denied. The rebound's cleared. Skinner goes beast mode, but that's broken up. And then at 7:17, it's Lindgren, who scores the second of the season. Brodzinski and Bonino with the assists. Rangers press at 9 minutes. The shots are 7-5 for the Sabres, though, with 9 minutes left. Opozo's denied and close. Bonino has a shot that's held. There's some pushing there. We end up with a power play for New York, and they score on it. It's Panarin scoring from Zibanejad through a screen at 15:33. That makes it a 2-0 lead for the Rangers, but the Sabres show some fight back. Dahlin scores from Greenway and Middlestad at 16:37 on a one-timer from the slot, and it's 2-1 Rangers after the first. Second period, Skinner's denied and close, and then at 1:42 on a rush, Quinn scores. He gets that one from Cousins and Peterka. It's all of a sudden a 2-2 tie. Sabres press at 4.5 minutes. In fact, the shots are 5-1 in their favor 6.5 minutes in, but the momentum would shift. Starts at 7:13 with Zibanejad burying a rebound on a rush from Kreider and Wheeler. So Wheeler started putting up points, and it is a 3-2 lead for the New York Rangers. Near miss for Vesey as they're pressuring. Rangers were a crossbar away from a 4-2 lead. Eric Johnson had a fight with Cooley. The Rangers come out of that with a power play for the instigator. Eric Johnson gets kind of shouty, so he was gone. And then Skinner gets kind of shouty, so he gets a 10-minute misconduct as well. And he goes and sits down and thinks about it. But yeah, it was 17 minutes for Eric Johnson. Sabres end up killing off that power play. But yeah, it's 3-2 for the Rangers after 2. Third period. There's a post for Trocheck. Lafreniere's robbed. The shots on net, though, are 5-2 Buffalo, 5.5 minutes in. And at 6:50, Middlestad buries a rebound. Greenway with the initial shot. And suddenly it's a 3-3 tie. Zibanejad has a blast that's held. The Rangers press with 9.5 minutes left. There was a power play for the Rangers. Tuck ends up with a shorthanded break. That's saved, but that ends up helping to kill the penalty off. 2:51 left. The Sabres with their first power play of the game, and then with 24 seconds left, we end up with a power play for the Rangers. That rolls over into the overtime. The Sabres do finish the kill. Trocheck misses his opportunity. Tuck's then denied on a rush, and then Kreider gets to bury one into an open net. Nice feed from Zibanejad on that one at 2:28. Fox with the other helper, and so your final score is 4-3 in overtime for the Rangers. They go to 23-8-1 on the season. The Sabres 14-17-4 with the overtime loss. Shots on net, 13-9 Rangers in the first, 11-10 for Buffalo in the second, 9-7 Rangers in the third, 3-1 Buffalo in the overtime, but the Rangers shot the one that matters. Final shots 33-30 for the Rangers. Power plays 0-1 for Buffalo, 1-4 for the Rangers. Hits 15-8 for Buffalo. Luukkonen, 29 saves on 33 shots, and Shesterkin, 27 saves on 30 shots. So, entertaining game. Again, maybe depends on who you're cheering for. Although, if you're a Sabres fan, you're probably okay with getting a point in MSG tonight. All right, next up, Kraken and the Anaheim Ducks. So this is where I discovered a bit of a glitch tonight with Sportsnet Plus. So there's 9 games going on, and every time I tried to reload this one, because the freeze, it froze. So normally you just exit out, and then you reload. Every time I went to reload it, it restarted the game. Yeah, I'm in the second period. I'm not watching. I'm not. And when I've got multiple games going, I don't have a way to hit the go live button. So, yeah, I had to at one point just say, all right, well, I guess I'll watch that in the third, which I did. So, Decord versus Dostal. Early chance for the Kraken. The shots are 4-3 for the Ducks at 4.5 minutes. Kraken press 6.5 minutes in. Ducks press at 9.5 minutes. McTavish is denied. Dostal holds on. Power play for Seattle. There was a shorthanded rush by McTavish that saved, and then Seattle scores on the power play. Bjorkstrand wires one high glove side. McCann and Dunn with the assists at 13:24. And then exactly 3 minutes later, Dunn scores on a net drive. Beniers and Tatar with the assists. So Thomas Tatar is really liking it in Seattle. It's a 2-0 Seattle after one. Second period, there was a 4-minute power play for the Ducks. At 6:18, during the second half of that 4-minute power play, Vetrano scores, so he's back on the score sheet. Henrique with the assist. The shots 9 minutes in are 6-2 for the Ducks, and then Sportsnet Plus decided, don't you want to watch this from the start? And I'm like, no, I want to go. I want to go to live. Man. Anyways, so we go to the third period with the score 2-1 in favor of Seattle. I wasn't overly concerned. Neither of these teams are really that close to being a playoff team right now. So there's a good early back and forth. The shots are 2-1 Kraken at 5.5 minutes. Back in the day, before I did try to watch as much as I could. Well, I mean, I was still trying to watch, but I would pay less attention to the games between teams that aren't near the playoffs. And of course, I still kind of do that, but not as much as I did, say, 3 years ago. So the shots are 2-1 for Seattle at 5.5 minutes. There wasn't much going on, which if you're Seattle, that's fine. You've got a lead on the road in the third. Power play for Anaheim, that's killed off. The teams exchange rushes, and then Tatar scores. He gets a goal from Dunn and Beniers at 8:25. That was after a near miss at the other end by the Ducks. Ducks press at 9.5 minutes. Eventually, they do get one. Zegras, Michigan. There were 2 Michigan goals scored tonight, or lacrosse goals, for everybody who don't know what is the Michigan. Zegras gets that one from Minchukov and Terry at 14:01. And so, yeah, the Michigan is a legit goal. Tolvanen has a shot that's blocked. Zegras has a rush that's held. 20 seconds left. The Ducks call a timeout, but the Kraken hold on. They win 3-2 in Anaheim. They go to 12-14-9 with the win. For the Ducks, 12-21 on the season. It's not going well for Anaheim. Shots on net, 14-10 Anaheim in the first, 9-3 Anaheim in the second, 11-9 Anaheim in the third. They do outshoot Seattle 34-22. Power plays, 1-for-1 for Seattle, 1-for-3 for Anaheim. The hits, 20-17 for the Ducks. Decord saved 32 out of 34. Dostal saved 19 out of 22. So the first of 2 80s games that we had tonight. And of course, this one, tons of goals. So Chicago and St. Louis. Chicago had a lead, and then all of a sudden, must remember there's Chicago. So it's Soderblom versus Binnington. Korchinski has a net feed that's picked off. Thomas would score to open it up for St. Louis. Buchnevich with the assist at 3:04. And then at 3:49, it's a Michigan. Bedard scores on a Michigan at 3:49 from Kurashev and Phillips. That is the first Michigan goal for Bedard. I'm not thinking it'll be the last either. And then Beauvillier tips one in less than a minute later at 4:10. Tenorti and Radish with the assists. All of a sudden, it's 2-1 Chicago in St. Louis. Shots are 5-3 Chicago at the half. The Blues press with 8.5 minutes left. We get a power play for the Blues. Kyrie's denied. It's cleared out. Kyrie had a good game. So that's killed off with 1:11 left. There's a power play for Chicago. That rolls over into the second period, and Chicago scores early in the second period on that power play. It's Nick Foligno, meaning both Foligno brothers had a goal tonight. Kurashev and Radish with the assists at 20 seconds, and he buries a rebound there. And it really quieted down the Seattle crowd at that point. St. Louis crowd at that point. So there's a power play for Chicago. That's killed off. The Blues rush after that. Kyrie's denied on a rush chance that follows that. And then Parayko would score for the Blues. He gets that one from Blaine and McEachern at 13:29, but Chicago would answer. Dickinson scores from Radish and Tenorti at 15:54. It's 4-2 in favor of Chicago after 2. Third period, early jump for the Blues. The shots are 5-0 St. Louis 5 minutes in. Power play for the Blues. Neighbors has a pass that's blocked. Things get pushed down to Soderblom hold. And then Chicago scores shorthanded. Foligno from Tenorti at 5:16. Then we get 32 seconds of a 5-on-3 for St. Louis. Krug has a blast that's held, and then during the 5-on-4, St. Louis scores. It's Sod from Hayes and Perunovic at 7:53. So the power play goal, the shorthanded goal cancel each other out, kind of, sort of. Blues press for another. They end up getting a power play, and they score on this one as well. It is Neighbors scoring from Falk and Hayes at 10:43. So the momentum's there, and they ride it through. Kyrou scores from Thomas and Buchnevich at 11:06, so about 20 seconds later. And then Falk scores one off Soderblom's arm from Krug at 17:53. And then you pull the goalie, and the empty netter scored by Kyrou at 18:59. So Kyrou with a couple of goals. He was all around the net all night. And your final score is 7-5 for St. Louis. It's ugly, but it's a win. They go to 17-15-1 with the win. With that loss, Chicago 10-22-2 on the season. Shots on net, 11-8 St. Louis in the first, 10-9 Chicago in the second, 22-2 St. Louis in the third. Final shots, 42-20 for St. Louis. Power plays, 1 for 2 for Chicago, 2 for 4 for St. Louis. Hits, 33-15 Chicago. Soderblom saves 35 out of 41. Binnington saved 15 out of 20. So, kind of a bonkers crazy game there. All right, next up. Last one on this board, Arizona and Colorado, and this was very one-sided. Colorado, I think this is the most complete game I've seen Colorado play in weeks. So it's Ingram versus Georgiev. The shots are 4-2 for Coyotes at 4 minutes. Power play for the Avs. McKinnon's denied. It's cleared out. Power play's killed off, but 6 seconds after, Bowen Byram scores from Colton at 8:32. Nichushkin's then denied as the Avs press. We get a power play for Arizona. That's killed off. It's 1-0 Colorado after 1. Second period, Schmaltz has a chance that's saved, and then Nichushkin buries a one-timer at 1:27. McKinnon and Taves with the assist, so McKinnon's point streak continues. Shots are 2-1 Colorado at 5 minutes. McKinnon's denied and close. Krause then had a fight with Wood. Didn't go that well for Wood. Krause is a big guy. Like, when he challenges you to a fight, the right answer is, I'm good. Thanks though. I'll think about it maybe for later. So Malinsky's denied. Ingram holds, and then on a 4-on-3 rush, Manson, who was late coming in, he scores from Olofsson and O'Connor at 13:29, makes it 3-0. Avs press with 5 minutes left with 3:17 left. The Avs get a power play. That was killed off. But then at 19:52, closing seconds, Olofsson scores. He gets that one from Cogliano and O'Connor. It's 4-0 after 2 periods. Third period, Mosier, who got hurt in the second period, I think it was a collision with Wood. That it was announced he wouldn't return. Hopefully he's okay. Dump and chase by the Coyotes, which is an interesting strategy because Colorado just kept clearing it out and we're not giving Arizona much of a chance. So Bukestad fires one wide from the slot, and showing how little the Coyotes were getting. The shots are 3-1 for the Avs at 6.5 minutes. We then get a power play for Arizona. Dursey has a rush chance that's saved during that power play, and that power play is killed off. Wood had a rush chance that was saved after that with 3:12 left. The Coyotes go back to the power play. They do score on this one to break the shutout. It's Kerfoot from Carconi and Dursey at 16:56. Then there was a post for Cooley on a rush, and bless Tyson Nash for saying, man, if that had gone in, we'd have ourselves a game. Not really. I don't see the Avs allowing 4 goals in the final 3 minutes, but I like the spirit. So the final score, 4-1 in favor of Colorado. They go to 21-11-2 with the win. Arizona drops to 17-14-2 with the loss. Shots on net, 12-8 Arizona in the first, 11-5 Colorado in the second, 8-7 Arizona in the third. Final shots, 26-25 Colorado. Power plays, Arizona 1 for 3, Colorado 0 for 2. The hits were 19-19. Ingram saved 22 out of 26. Georgiev, 24 saves on 25 shots. Good statistical night for him. And now I need to change boards. All right, just 2 more games, and then I'm done for 3 days. An 80s magnet right down here. So I didn't put it at the top. I put it right down here. That's perfect. All right, so we're going to start things off talking about Calgary and LA before we get to this one. So it's Markstrom versus Talbot. It takes 1 minute and 1 second, and on their first shot, LA scores. It's Byfield from Doughty and Kopitar. Kings press 2 minutes in, but on Calgary's first shot, they score 2. Rasmus Anderson from Backlund and Mangiapane at 2:47. Kings press 9 minutes in. They press again with 8.5 minutes left. We get a power play for LA. Kempe has a one-timer that's held, and then they score a second after that power play ends. It's Dubois, another name that was not on my slow starts list. Spence with the assist of 15-20. It's 2-1 LA after the first period. Second period, Laferriere has a wraparound that saved. Dubois is denied and close. We get a power play for the Kings. That leads to a shorthanded goal. I think when Calgary gets a power play, they should just take one of their players off the ice and play shorthanded because it feels like they're more dangerous shorthanded than they are in the power play. So Coleman gets the shorthanded goal from Sharon Govich at 3:59. I think they said that's his 4th goal this month, shorthanded. Coleman collided with Talbot on the play when he scored the goal. Talbot did stay in. Flames then finished the kill. The Kings would press, and they score. Laferriere scores from Doughty and Anderson at 6:28. That one deflected in off Markstrom's stick. Kings look for another. We get a power play for the Flames. A shorthanded rush by Kempe ends it. 3 shots on that power play. And then at 9:57, Trevor Moore scores from Roy. We get a power play for the Kings after that. That's killed off. The Flames get a power play. There's a shorthanded rush by Kempe that ends that one too. Hannafin bleeding, and it's reviewed. There wasn't a call on the play initially, but it's a 4-minute call they make after on the review. It's a legit call. I'm not sure why all the fans are chanting, "Ref, you suck." Were they mad that he initially missed the high stick that caused Hannafin to go bleeding off the ice? Like, there was a trail of blood as he left the ice. You have to call that. So anyways, I was, this is one time where I heard, "Ref, you suck," and I'm like, why? I kind of understand it from a fan's perspective, but why? So to start the third period, there's 3:49 left in the Flames power play. The Kings really did a good job. They prevent the early setup. They clear. Everything gets killed off. 4 shots during that power play. Talbot was quite good too. Pospisil then had a rush that's defended. Moore had a 3-on-2 chance that was held. The Flames go back to the power play. They score on this one. Coleman scores from Ruzicka and Weegar at 7:18. There's Blake Coleman again. He buries a rebound. I honestly, and I'm not kidding with this, I think for anybody who's struggling to score right now, whether it's Huberdeau or whoever on the Calgary lineup, figure out what Coleman's doing and just try to copy that as best you can. He's just playing so well right now. Flames go back to the power play. That's killed off. With 3:44 left, the Kings get a power play. And that's tough because final 4 minutes, power play for the Kings. All they need to do is just kill those 2 minutes. Moore's denied and close. Power play's killed off. 2 shots. So the Flames pull the goalie. And Byfield wins a race to the puck. He scores at 19 minutes from Kempe and Kopitar into the empty net. It is the second goal of the game, and it ensures a win for the Kings, who win 5-3. They go to 19-7-4 with the win. The Flames 14-15-5 with the loss. Shots on net: 13-7 LA in the first, 13-12 LA in the second, 13-8 Calgary in the third. Final shots: 34-32 LA. Power plays: Calgary 1 for 6, LA 0 for 4. Hits: 19-12 LA. Markstrom 29 saves on 33 shots. Talbot 29 saves on 32 shots. And last game of the night, San Jose and Vancouver. Vancouver made me nervous in this one because, there was some sloppiness from the Canucks in this. So, Blackwood versus Demko, and it takes 1 minute and 34 seconds. Kuzmenko got off the schneid tonight. He scores from Mikheyev and Pettersson. Shots are 2-0 for the Canucks 4 minutes in. The Sharks press 5 minutes in. We get a power play for the Canucks, though, and they score on it. It's Kuzmenko from Miller and Hughes at 6:51. It's a tip in by Kuzmenko. He's got 2 goals in the first 6:51 of the game. Shots are 4-1 for the Canucks at 9 minutes, and all I could think was, we haven't really had a laugher for the Canucks in a while. We haven't had a game where they could just relax. And I shouldn't have thought it because they relaxed. So Pettersson tips one wide as Canucks press, and then on their second shot, San Jose scores. Granlund gets that one from Duclair and Ferraro at 13:32. The Canucks press with 5 minutes left, but on their fourth shot, San Jose scores again. Hurdle ties the game from Zadina and Ferraro. So after the first period, it's 2-2, and a little bit of nerves there because it's all right, I'm gonna start laughing soon, right? Nope. Second period, Zadina has a shot that's held. We get a power play for Vancouver. During that power play, the fans call one. The referee does not. That was killed off, and it didn't feel like there was any momentum for the Canucks from that. There was just the one shot. We get a power play for San Jose. The Canucks kill that off, and shortly after it's killed off, Amon scores from Bluger at 6:03. So suddenly the Canucks have the lead back. It's a nice cross-ice pass by Bluger. He's on a 5-game point-scoring streak. We get a power play for the Canucks. There's a blocker save on Besser. That power play's killed off, and then Lafferty deflects one in. Cole and Garland with the assists at 8:36. It's 4-2. But not long after, at 11:08, Zetterlund with a one-timer. Was a bad line change by the Canucks. Ferraro and Granlund with the assists. One thing I noticed with Vancouver tonight, assignments. Usually the Canucks defensively have been really good this season, and tonight there were way too many times where I was thinking, why is that San Jose Sharks player wide open? The defensive coverage was suspect at times. Power play for the Sharks, crossbar for Zetterlund. That's killed off. 3 minutes left. The Sharks go back to the power play. There's a shorthanded 2-on-1 that ends up helping to end it, but San Jose did have 3 shots during that power play. Then in 19:13, Dakota Joshua gives the Canucks back their 2-goal lead. He scores from Garland and Bluger. So it's 5-3 Canucks after 2. Third period, Pettersson has a slot shot that's sticked aside. We get a power play for the Canucks. During that, Pettersson's denied. It's cleared out, killed off. I wouldn't say Blackwood had a great night, but he knows how to prevent Pettersson goals. Because then he did it again. He denies Pettersson in close. Ohochik has a shot that's held as the Sharks press. Thrun's denied. Demko holds. And then next play, face-off win, and McDonald roofs one. Zadina and Ruda with the assists at 13:16. All of a sudden, it's a 1-goal game. But at 15:43, Suter. This time it's the Canucks to win the offensive zone face-off, and they bury it. Suter tips one in. Hughes and Miller with the assists. So Hughes and Miller, 9 points each at that stage in 4 games against San Jose. Hughes would end up getting 10, though. Spoiler alert and all that. Goalie pull happens with 2:13 left. They had some opportunities, but Hughes allows me to breathe a little bit at 1947 by getting the empty net goal. Vancouver wins 7-4. They go to 23-9-3. At the break, they are 2 points clear of anybody else in the NHL atop the standings. I don't know what better Christmas present a Canucks fan could have. San Jose 9-22-3 with the loss. So San Jose's back into losing their games, but the effort's there. Shots on net, 5 apiece in the first, 11-9 Vancouver in the second, 11-10 Vancouver in the third. There's only 51 shots in this game. There were 11 goals. 26 shots for Vancouver, 25 for San Jose. Power plays, San Jose 0 for 3, Vancouver 1 for 4. The hits, 19-15 San Jose. Blackwood saved 19 out of 25. Demko saved 21 out of 25. So not a great night, I thought, for Vancouver, but they find a way to win it. So in previous seasons, we would have seen the Canucks find a way to lose the game. They would have had an early lead. They would have lost it. This team manages to come out with enough goals to win it. So impressive, even if at points in time I was like, how's that guy wide open? But anyways, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you've not done so already. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.